Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We are from Group 4 and today we are excited to present our work to you all. So let's get started. So our topic is food handling a Sharia perspective. We will be looking at how Islamic principles guide the way food is prepared and consumed to make sure it's halal and safe. So before we go deeper into slide, we must know the first concept of halal, haram and shubha in food production and consumption. We will see how these categories guide Muslims in choosing what is permissible, forbidden and what falls into doubtful areas. So firstly, halal refers to food or actions that are permissible under Sharia. This means the food must be pure, safe and lawful. For example, meat must come from animals that are slaughtered according to Islamic guidelines, and the food must not contain prohibited animals like alcohol or pork. So halal is not only about what we eat, but also about how it is prepared and handled to ensure it aligns with Islamic law. Second, haram refers to food or actions that are strictly forbidden under Sharia. Examples include pork, alcohol, blood, and animals that are not properly slaughtered. Consuming haram food is considered sinful and it goes against the principles of purity and obedience in Islam. That's why Muslims must be careful to avoid these items in both production and consumption. The third one is shubha. Shubha refers to food or action whose halal status is uncertain. In other words, they are not clearly halal or haram. When faced with shubha, Muslims are advised to exercise caution and seek further verification. For example, if the source of an ingredient is unclear, like whether gelatin comes from a halal slaughter animal or not, it falls into this doubtful category. The safest approach is to avoid shubha until its status is confirmed.
The next criteria is traceability. Traceability Traceability is ability to track food from farm to fork, including raw material, supplies, and production batches. For example, when we take a restaurant setting, the food that served in front of us, we can trace it back. Where does the raw material being get? Who is the supplier? Which farm they get the meat, the chicken, the rice? We can that is traceability. First is permissible. Verified sources and halal certification ensure the food is lawful. When the food is lawful, we as Muslims safely eat it. We know the source is clear, the source is halal through audit, and then we get prohibited. Unknown or non-halal sources will compromise halal status. Basically, when the source is unknown, we will assume it as non-halal. Or it can be shubha. Incomplete information about suppliers or origin will create doubt. The second criteria is handling. Handling is refer how the food is stored, touched, cleaned and managed during the storage before reaching the consumer. Basically, before the food reach us in front of us, uh, we know how the food is stored, we know how the food is processed, how the food is managed, how the food is prepared, or etc. We know how the food is being treated. Basically, the impact of handling on halalness. Basically, how do we get permissible, proper hygiene and clear separation between halal and non-halal, which we need to maintain it. Basically, if the company prepare food for halal and non-halal consumer, they need to be clear about separation. They cannot be stored in the same container, or else it will be cross contamination, which we will proceed to prohibited, where if there are cross contamination occur through shared utensils, surface or storage with non-halal food. So we need to be clear about the separation here to gain halal handling process. And for shubha, basically the handling procedure are unclear or cleanliness cannot be verified.
The third criteria is processing. The processing criteria refers to the methods and activities used to prepare, cook, mix or manufacture food products before they are being sold or being consumed. Impact of processing on halalness of food. The food is permissible to eat if the food is processed using halal certified ingredients, using clean equipment, which is not contaminated with najis, and then Sharia compliant method is applied, especially for animal based product which require Sharia compliant slaughtering. And then the food is prohibited if haram ingredients are used, such as pork, blood or alcohol. And then for the animal based product, improper slaughtering occurred, which makes the food haram. And then lastly, the food is considered shubha if the process or ingredient used is unclear, which may lead to contamination, or maybe the food is not fully verified, which may be because lack of halal certification. The next criteria is packaging. The packaging criteria refers to the materials and methods used to wrap, seal and protect food products before distribution and sale. Impact of packaging on halalness of the food. The food is considered permissible if the packaging materials used are clean, safe and non-toxic, with proper hygiene practices followed by the workers. There is also clear separation between halal and non-halal food. And then the food is considered prohibited if cross-contamination occurred due to shared utensils, surfaces or storage of halal food with non-halal food. It is also considered prohibited if the packaging materials is contaminated with najis. And then lastly, the food is considered shubha if the handling procedures are unclear and the cleanliness of the packaging area cannot be verified.
And now, let us move on to the next criteria, which is logistics. When we talk about logistics, it refers to storage, transportation, and distribution of food products from manufacturers to consumers. But how exactly it can affect the halal status of food? Well, it aligns with Sharia only if halal food is transported and stored in clean facilities with proper segregation from non-halal items. And Islam is against the action when halal food is mixed or transported together with non-halal products causing contamination. Remember also to avoid logistics practices that are unclear or cleanliness and segregation that can be verified to prevent shubha. Before looking at the Sharia viewpoint, let us first look at the efforts made worldwide to ensure food health, safety, and cleanliness. We all know that the World Health Organization, or WHO, is a global institution under the United Nations that is responsible for protecting public health worldwide. When it comes to food safety, WHO establishes international food safety guidelines to prevent foodborne diseases through proper hygiene standards and by promoting clean, safe, and nutritious foods.
Okay, now let's look at how human intelligence and divine wisdom meet. Science tells us why certain foods are bad. For an example, we know now that pork can carry trichinosis or swine flu, but long before microscope existed, the Quran already gave us a guideline to avoid it. Think of it like a manufacturer's manual. If you buy a high-end quality car, you follow the manual because the creator knows what best for this engine. Science is us opening the hood and discovering exactly how the engine works. When we combine both science and manual, which is Nakli and Akli, we get the full picture of health. As we wrap up our analysis, we are not just talking about calories, labels, but we are talking about foundation of healthy society. As a rhetorical question, have you ever wondered why we feel more sluggish after eating processed junk compared to wholesome, to-eat meals? Our closing analysis looks at food not just as fuel but as a responsibility. So, in Islam, protecting your health is not just personal goals, but it is a divine mandate, hifzu an-nafs. When we choose safe food, we are literally worshipping by preserving the life God saved us. And by avoiding foodborne illness, we protect our hifzu al-mal by not wasting resources on avoidable medical bills. This is the most exciting part. Food safety is a fardu kifayah. This means if no one in our community checks for halal and tayyiban standards, this means we share the burden. But because we have food scientists, inspector and honest entrepreneur, the whole community is protected. You, as future professionals, are the guardians of this safety net.